Okay, here we are with our first exercise of Excel Part 2. So this is Excel Chapter 5, Mid-Level 1, Real Estate. I've got a bunch of data here in our Excel sheet that I've already opened as per Step 1, all with selling data from real estate in different cities. So, as I said, Step 1 is done. Step 2, we are going to use the subtotal feature for Excel. And we're going to, before we do that, we have to fill out our sheet a bit because there's a couple columns with formulas that are required. So in step 2, we're going to do a formula in G2, which is here, to calculate the selling price as a percentage of the asking price. Okay, so we'll do that by dividing the selling price by the asking price. And we're told, so it's in accounting format now, I think. So we're told we have to format it with percent style in one decimal place and then fill down. So I'm going to do percent, one decimal place, and fill down. All right. So we're good with step 2. Moving on to step 3. So now in J2, we have to enter a formula to calculate the number of days between the listing date and the sale date, and then copy that down. Okay, so I'm going to do sale date minus listing date. Gets me a number of days, and I'm going to copy it down. Okay, so now we have that column nice and filled up. So that's it for step 3. Step 4, we have to do some sorting before we use our subtotal feature. So we've got a triple level sort. So I'm going to just click in this data here and hit the data tab and hit sort. And when I do that, it automatically picks all my data up. So I don't have to worry about highlighting my table first. So the first thing in our sorting we need to do is sort by city in alphabetical order. So I'm going to choose city A to Z alphabetical, add a level, then selling agent in alphabetical. Okay, selling agent A to Z alphabetical, and then add my last level because we need to do listing date in chronological order, oldest to newest. Okay, so that's perfect. We're good with our sort. All right, that's it for step 4. Step 5, we want to do our subtotal stuff. So we're going to use the subtotal feature to calculate the average selling price, percentage of asking price, and days on market by city. So by city is important. We also need to ensure the summary below data is selected and then hit OK. So let's get into the subtotal menu and work through. So I'm in the data tab still. The subtotal item is here. So click on that. Again, it picks up my data automatically, which is fantastic. So the first thing we need to do is say where we're subtotaling. We want a subtotal by city. So I need to pick city in this drop down. So every time the city changes as it goes down a column, it'll do the subtotal or averages that we want. So the next thing we have to do is tell it what kind of operation it's supposed to do. So we don't want sum, we want average. Okay. And then we have to tell it by clicking boxes here what columns we should be doing an average on. So we need to do selling price. We need to do percentage of asking price. And then we need to do days on market, which is automatically already done for us, probably because it was in the rightmost column. It picked that up. So we need to ensure the summary data below is selected, which it is right there. This checkbox replace current subtotals will be useful if you've messed up and you have to try again. It'll get rid of whatever's there and put your new stuff in. In this case, we can leave it checked. There's nothing there to remove, but it doesn't harm anything. So we'll hit OK now. And now if we scroll down, we can see, okay, after each city changed, at the end of each grouping of cities, we've got our averages here. And that's true for each of the cities as we scroll down. Super fast way of going about things. So the next thing we're going to do is group the data using the auto outline feature. So we're going to collapse the outline to hide the listing and sale dates. Okay, so you may notice on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got this 1, 2, 3, and we've got these pluses or minuses right now along the side. This allows you to collapse and expand data to show just what you want. So we want to get rid of everything. So we just show grand average and city average rows only. So if you hit the 3, it basically shows everything, shows all levels of data. If I hit the 2, it shrinks down all the listings and then shows the averages by city and then the grand average at the bottom. If I hit the 1, it gets rid of everything except the grand average. So we need to hit the number 2 because we want everything by city and then the grand average at the bottom. So there we are for step 5. Step 6 says now we're ready to format the data and set the print area to only select a portion of the worksheet. Okay, so first thing we have to do is format the average days on market as numbers with 0 decimal places. So I'm going to highlight column J, go to my home, format as a number, and then get rid of the decimal places there. So there's 0 decimal places. Next, apply wrap text in G1 and J1. Okay, G1 and J1. And then we're going to set the print area for range C1 to J11. So C1. C1 to J88. That makes more sense. So to do that, we go to the page layout. After we've made our selection, click the print area button and set print area. Okay. So that's all we had to do. You can see it has a box around the stuff that we've set to print. So we are now good for step 6. Step 7, we need to select individually columns G and J and change the column width to 10. Okay, so I'm going to do that by highlighting column G and then holding down Control and selecting J, and then I'll right-click and choose my column width, and we need to set that to 10. Okay, cool. And then now we have to change the row height for the first row, so row 1, row height to 24. Hit OK. Now our headings look nice. So we're done with step 7. Step 8 involves going down to cell C101. So answer these questions. And we're going to answer our questions in the highlighted boxes here. So it says, do not copy and paste results from the subtotal row. Type in the numeric values rounded to the nearest whole number. Okay, so first question, what is the average selling price in Alpine? Average selling price is 504911. Which city has the highest average percentage of asking price? So that's this column, which is the highest. Well, these guys have a 96.4. So that is American Fork. Next question, which city has the least number of average days on market? So scanning through there, I can see this one's 46, which would be Cedar Hills. Which is the average days on market for all cities? Well, that would be the grand average down at the bottom, which would be 72. And then which city had the lowest average selling price? Well, scanning here, these guys have the lowest, and that's Leahy. Okay, so we're supposed to lastly apply a counting number format with 0 decimals to G102. So that's this one. Home. Counting format, and we want 0 decimals. Okay, So that's it for step 8. On to the next page. And we're going to start on something different. So we get into pivot tables now, one of the more powerful things that you can do in Excel. So we need to click the sales data worksheet. Okay, so that's down here. And create a blank pivot table on a new worksheet. Okay, so I'm going to click within my data here. I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and you'll find Pivot Table off to the left. I'm going to click on that. Automatically picked up my data, so that's very nice. So we need to put it on a new worksheet and name the new worksheet Pivot Table, capital T, no space. So we've got new worksheet selected, and then we'll hit OK. There we go. So nothing's happening yet because we haven't told our pivot table what to do. So we need to name our new worksheet pivot table. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And name the pivot table average city prices. So if you click on your pivot table, much like when we made tables in normal Excel stuff, if you go to your pivot table tools, analyze, when you're clicked on it, you'll see the name here. And this is where you can change the name. So we need average city prices. You'll notice it updates in this box as well. So that's good for step 9. Step 10, we have to build our pivot table, and we do this using the right-hand area. So I should be able to move my face. Move my face there, and we can see this whole area here. So it gives us in the second paragraph here the instructions on how to set up our pivot table properly. So the first thing we need to do is place city field in rows. So what you do is you just click on, so this is all the data that we have here. And if we click and drag, we can drag into filters, columns, rows, or values. Okay. So we want city in rows. And you'll see now we have rows here with the city names. So that's good. We need to put the selling agent field in columns. So I got selling agent here, and that's going to go in columns. And you can see, okay, now each name is along the top. And then we need to have the asking price and selling price fields as values. Okay, so asking price in values, and then selling price in values. Okay, so there. I can make this a little bit bigger. So now we have each row is for a city, and then you have the sum of the asking price for each person and the sum of the selling price for each person. So we don't want the sums, however. We're told that we want to display averages rather than sums and use an accounting number format with 0 decimal places. So to change that, you go down where you've put your items into the values, and you can click on each one. So we'll start with the top one, which is asking price. Here you can click on this bottom option, value field settings. And here's where you can tell it to do something different. So we want it to do an average. So I'm going to click on that. And we want our number format to be something specific. So I'm going to click there. We want accounting format and 0 decimal places. So I'll do that. So I'm done that part. I'll hit OK. Hit OK again. Now you'll see that these have updated to averages for each person. So now we just have to do that same process for the next one. Again, click on it, value field settings. We want average, and our number format is accounting with 0 decimal places. Okay, and then okay. All right, so now both columns under each individual is in an average now. Okay. So next thing we need to do is we need to change things up. So we're going to pivot the data by placing the city field below the values field in the columns area, and then moving selling agent field to rows. So we're basically swapping our row headings and column headings here. So I'm going to put the city field below values in the column. So I'm going to put that down in there by dragging it over. Now you can see we've got it kind of looks all screwed up because we don't have anything in the rows box. So now we have to put the selling agent, so by dragging that over to rows. All right, so that's a lot easier than manually switching things around. So that's a big advantage here. So now we have each of the agents here. We have the average asking price in these columns, and then each city. Then we have average selling price, and then each city underneath. So we've built our first pivot table here, and we're done step 10. Next, we want to focus on real estate data for only 2 cities. So we're going to use B3, which was automatically added to our table when we made it, to display only Alpine and Cedar Hills as our cities. So if I hit the down arrow on this cell, I get some options. So these are all the chunks of data that are included, and I only want Alpine and Cedar Hills. So I'm going to uncheck the select all to blank everything out, and then I'm going to click Alpine and Cedar Hills, which will get rid of the data from American Fork, Eagle Mountain, and Leahy. So I'm going to hit OK. Now we shrink it up. So Alpine, Cedar Hills, Alpine, Cedar Hills. That's all that's left. Perfect. So that's step 11. Done. Now, we need to go back to the sales data worksheet because we realized that a selling price is incorrect. So I'm going to go to the sale data, and we're told that we need to change the selling price for number 40. So let's go find number 40. All right, so this is number 40. And we're told that the selling price should be 1.4 million, not 140,000. So I'm going to just add an extra 0 to this guy. And now I'm at 1.4 million, which is the correct thing. So now we just have to refresh our pivot table because we've amended our source data. So if I go to pivot table and I'm clicked in it, so I have my pivot table tools, I need to go to the Analyze tab, and you'll find this refresh button in the middle. So if I click on that, you'll see that this number changed, this number changed because it's a grand total or an average. Yeah, it's an average, and this average also updated. So we know that our pivot table refreshed. We're done step 12. Now we want to format our pivot table, which is no more complex than formatting a normal sheet. So we're going to change the column widths of A, B, C, D. All right, A, B, C, D, and E. So let me do that again. A, B, C, D, E to 11. So I'm going to right-click column width, 11. Hit OK. Change the width of F to 14. All right, column width, 14. And then we're going to change the width of G to a 13.14. All right, weird number, but that's okay. So I'll hit OK. All right, now we need to wrap text and center horizontally the data in B4, D4, F4, and G4. Okay, B4, pardon me, D4, F4, G4. So we're told to center horizontally, so that's there. And we're told to wrap. So I'll wrap it. Okay, now it looks a little bit better. Next, we want to apply bottom border to the range B4 to E4. Okay, so B4 to E4. Choose my borders here on the Home tab, and we want bottom. And you can see we have a nice line here now. Then we want to change the label in A5 to say agent. So A5 agent. Okay. Change the height of row 4 to 40. Okay, so this is row 4. I'm going to change the row height to 40. And there we go. So that's it for step 13. All the formatting is done. Next thing we want to do is create another pivot table to look at selling prices by city. Okay, so we're going to go back to the sales data, and we're going to use the recommended pivot table, and it tells us which one to use. Okay, so we're going to go to the Insert tab. So we have pivot table here, but we're going to use recommended pivot table here. So I'm going to click on that. Again, it highlighted my appropriate data, so we're good there. And we're looking for the one that says sum of selling price by city. All right, so let's see, sum of selling price by city. So for me, this is the second one. If you can't see the full name, click on it and it'll give you the full name here. So I'm going to click OK there. If you are a Mac user, apparently you don't have the recommended one, so you just need to insert a pivot table on a new worksheet, add city to the rows, and selling price to the values area. Okay. So back to what we're up to is, as a whole, we need to change the name of the new pivot table worksheet to selling price. All right. Selling price. All right, so that's it for step 14. Next, what we need to do is change the value to display averages, not sums. Okay, so we have sums here. So if we want to do averages, we go to our values item in the box, value field settings, and we want average. Okay. Then we're told to change the number format. So I'll stay in here and go to number format. And we want accounting and 0 decimal places. Okay. I'll hit OK. And OK. And there we have average and our correct number format. The last thing we need to do here is apply light blue pivot style medium 2 to the pivot table, or depending on your version of Office, it might just be called pivot style medium 2. So make sure you're clicked in your pivot table, go to the pivot table tools design tab, and open up your pivot table styles. And let's find medium 2. So medium 2, light blue pivot style medium 2. Okay. There we go. So now we are good with step 15. Step 16. So we've decided to make a pivot chart to illustrate our data that we have here in a visual form. So we're going to create a clustered column pivot chart from the pivot table on the selling price worksheet. Okay, so that's where we are. So let's do that. So if you go to your pivot table tools analyze tab, and we click on the pivot chart item here, it'll turn our pivot table into a chart or create a chart in addition to our table. So I'll click on that. So we are told that we want a clustered column, which happens to be the first one here, and drag it over so I don't have to click on my face and hit OK. So there it is. So the next thing we need to do is move the chart to a new sheet named sales chart. So I'm going to right click on the blank white area on the outside, move chart. We've done this before in Excel 3, new worksheet, and that new worksheet is going to be called sales, need a capital, sales chart. Okay, I'll hit OK. Now we have our new tab, sales chart, and we've got our chart there. Step 16 is done. Over the page, step 17, second last thing we need to do. So it says the chart should have a meaningful title. I agree. So let's change the chart title to say average selling price by city. Okay, so click on it, average selling price by city, hit enter. Now we need to apply a dark blue font color to the font. So let's do that. So I'm just going to highlight my stuff. I'll do this on the home tab. You can do it in other areas. So we want dark blue, which is on this standard color row, and it basically looks black. So I'm going to click on that. So that's it for that part. Next thing is remove the legend. Well, you might not even notice it, but it's this little one over here, which is not very helpful because it's the only data here, so we don't need it. So I'm just going to hit the delete button after clicking on it. Next thing we need to do is apply dark blue fill color to the data series. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to click on my data series. I think I can do this in the format area in my pivot chart tools, shape fill, and I need dark blue. So again, the one that almost looks black in the standard colors. And there we go. So now our pivot chart is formatted as we wish. Last step, as normal, is to do our footer. So I'm going to, and it says to do it to all worksheets. So I'm going to click on my first worksheet, hold down Shift, click on my last one. Holding down Shift means you highlight the ones you click on and everything in between. Makes things much faster. Page layout, page setup dialog, header and footer, custom footer, and it wants our name. In the center, it wants our sheet code. And in the right, it wants the file name code. And there we go. So now it says adjust page setup scaling if needed. So I would assume if we go file print on this guy, he bumps off the page, which is annoying. So I will change the scaling here. I'm just going to do 1 page by 1 page. This will all fit on the same thing. You can go through each of your, if you highlight all your tabs actually by doing this and go file print, your print preview will print preview all of them. So I can click through my pages here. So that one fits. That one fits, it looks like. That fits. That fits. This one won't because it's my data page. That's fine. Because nothing's based on that. I wouldn't print the data off anyways. I would just print my charts and my pivot tables. So that's it for 18. Step 19 is just to save and close. So we are done.